Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Awakening Beauty conversation. This time, I will be dancing with one of my new friends, Yeni. Welcome, Yeni.
Thank you.
This will be, as usual, a casual conversation where we will dance, get to know each other, we'll
Mhm.
unpack how we are awakening more beauty or bliss in our lives. And hopefully, you will have a chance to experience some of it together with us. And as usual, before we do a deep dive into our conversation, I would like to invite you to grab one of your favorite drinks, tea or coffee, or a glass of water, and just settle down. Oh, so lovely to see you, Yanni.
You're welcome, and likewise.
Oh, well, let's start with a little bit, maybe background story, because I truly feel like even our connection has some magic in it.
Yes,
Time
yes.
flies. It has been already a couple months. I think it was end of November. I
Mhm.
was in London. Suddenly, I was there for another conference related to awakening beauty and how we can bring the future of humanity into our daily life. And one day, I woke up with this sweet LinkedIn message. It was very sincere. I remember, like, hey, I found you through your videos. You were talking about doing a different way of doing business for love, with love. This deeply resonated with me, and I just would like to reach out and say hi and connect. And I said, wow, like such a synchronistic timing. The same day we were talking about doing business differently and bringing more of our humanity into how we do business,
Mhm.
integrating more of our universal wisdom, natural cycles of life into the way that we create value for the world too. And here I am receiving this beautiful message, and that's really brightened my day. And connecting with you as a follow up was another beautiful surprise. And we naturally, I think, fell into a wonderful flow. So, this is to me such a privilege once again to welcome you, to have the opportunity to get to know you better.
Thank you.
And through you joining Awakening Beauty Circles as well. This is for me just an unpacking of the initial connection and heart resonance that I felt with you.
Mhm.
So thank you for reaching out.
Thank
And
you.
for the ones who didn't have a chance to get to know you yet, which I believe is the majority of the group who are watching this, could you share a little bit more about your story? Maybe the story that made you to send that message too.
Yeah. Yes, I was actually reaching out to you because of this the heart in business concept. I found you that way, as you already explained. And then there was a lot of more resonance. So if people know you, they actually kind of know me also because it. As we already experienced, we have read some of the same books and a lot more to that. But anyway, I'm a philosopher. I'm a Danish philosopher and I'm a Danish psychologist. I do research, future research, and on a day to day practice, I work with scientific projects. But also, I'm a very spiritual person, also. So that was why I was in the paradox situation where I found myself together with a team that was working very materialistic and uh, according to my perspective, a bit without heart in it. So saw your YouTube channel and you were talking about heart in business. And that was why I reached out to you.
Wow.
And luckily you answered.
Oh yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And these type of things are not just random incidents in life. Whenever you feel that resonance, there is always something behind it. And over time, I'm just learning and unpacking. And just a sweet coincidence, like I think even in the first moment, you mentioned that you already know the Gene Keys community,
Yes.
which was the holder of the confidence conference. And then over time, when you had more opportunities to dig deeper, we realized that our favorite books are similar. We are both coming from a scientific background, but we are also very spiritual in business
Yeah.
in our essence. So beautiful synchronicities of life bringing
Yeah.
us together. And I think we might be using sometimes different kind of terminologies, but when you feel that resonance in the essence, it clicks immediately. I say this is
Yeah.
like love at the first sight, personally for me. And our connection personally for me was that inner essence of knowing that we are speaking the same language, even if we
Exactly. It's like
maybe,
speaking the same
yes,
resonant language.
yeah. So the way that I define beauty is, I think, very much resonant with your definition of bliss too. When I looked into your tagline on your website, you were very loud and clearly inviting individuals to follow their own bliss.
Yes.
In my own terminology, beauty is this eternal dance of diversity and unity. Like we are united in our hearts, which really
Mm,
makes us
mm,
connected in the
mm,
first
mm,
moments of our interaction. But yet we are also so different. Like no one has your life experiences, your perspective in life. And that is actually your unique contribution to the world. And through
mm,
that diversity, everyone following their own bliss, hopefully we will unite more and we will see more beauty in the world. At least that's how I see bliss and also beauty dancing together. But also, I would like to use this as an opportunity or invitation for you to tell a little bit more about what bliss means for you and what's your invitation by inviting people to find their own bliss. Can you share a little bit more about your solopreneur tagline or vision and mission?
yeah. My concept about following your bliss is actually an archetypical one, the hero's journey. And I'm, as a philosopher, I'm very much against social conformity. I think that the light that is in every people, are in every people, is dimmed by the social conformity. So when I'm speaking about following your bliss, it's your heart, your light, that unique light you have in you, and that I think that every person should follow. So I think actually it's like this ripple effect, the resonance between you and me, but also around in the world. It's like we are coming together, saying to people, "Follow your own light." To
Yes.
me, there's no one fits all. So that's why I'm pointing out that following your bliss, your own way, go your own soul journey, and realize that life is not about uh, doing something that anyone else wants you to do, but you look inward, follow your inner voice and your inner wisdom. In a way, you already know where you're going. The rest of it is
Mm,
noise. Social conformity is noise, in my
yes,
point of view.
true. It's so true that we are born with that innate knowing, but something in us clouds us.
Yes.
And I think we also touched upon these points like education, the way that society operates today. Maybe our previous experiences are loading so much expectations, so much conformity to us that we are just forgetting who we
Mm,
are.
mm,
And although, like, just surrendering will reveal that inner essence, sometimes I observe that there are so much outside noise that doesn't come easily. And there are, I think, different ways of revealing that inner bliss or inviting more of that out to the world. Do you have any particular ways of approaching inviting that inner essence more into life in your personal experience or in your coaching?
yes. I start actually with people beginning to see through the different psychological games we attend to, the drama,
Hmm.
the kind of using and misusing energy. To me, everything is energy. So that's why I invite people in to understand resonance and energy, and by giving them everyday life examples. So I use, for example, some conditioning examples from family or friends.
Hmm.
It can be a little bit tricky to people to realize that family and friends can actually also be toxic if
Yes.
you're always ending up in drama with them.
Yes.
So I start with, in my coaching sessions, I start with just taking tiny steps, tiny everyday steps, with just letting people observe. For example, next time you get triggered, what did you get triggered about? Did you understand your role, your manuscript, and so on in the drama that is happening? Is it you who started the drama, and so on? And then afterwards, people realize that there might be in a drama, they might start a drama. Then we look at the roles they play, and the understanding behind the roles, because very often it's a role you play that you got from your family
So
system
true.
structure.
So
And
true.
all of us play that role with our friends, our colleagues, our family, and so on, without unconsciously. And the intention with my coaching is to get people to let people be more aware of uh, what is happening actually. So it starts with simple steps, simple observations of what is stopping them, and then afterwards I ask them to what is your central values in life. Pick out 3 central values, pick out 3 to 5, not too many, but 3 to 5 values in life, and stick to them, be loyal to them. Uh, and when people realize that these values can be their own personal compass
Yes.
to deconditioning themselves, they kind of wake up and be more loyal to their own soul journey, so to speak.
Mm.
So I can point out specific what they're going to do because their inner wisdom knows their soul journey, but I can help guide them to move the fog, or the dust,
Yes. Yes.
the conditioning, so they can see and understand and touch their true self. And when they have experienced their true self, you can feel that in them when they touched on their true self. The next step is, of course, to stay loyal to them.
Yes.
And there will be triggers and there will be setbacks, but it's still moving forward because you cannot unsee something or unlearn something of inner knowing if you have remember it. So,
Yes.
mm,
Oh, thank you so much. Resonance. Once again, vibrating all over. Um, where shall I start? I think your approach very much deeply aligns with mine. For us to be able to see the inner light, we need to first face our shadows.
exactly.
I am a big fan of Rumi. He is one of my spiritual
Mm,
inspiration resources.
mm,
And I quote a lot always from Rumi. He says, "Wound is the place where the light enters."
exactly.
So, whatever is bothering us in our relationship with family, in our relationship with society, in our relationship with friends, has always been also personally for me and for the ones around me, like an invitation for us to sit together with that. Like, why is this bothering me? And
Mm,
unpack it from that.
mm.
And on the personal side, I have a different kind of analogy too. Are you familiar with Pac-Man game?
Yeah. I don't
So
play it, but I see it as a metaphor. Yes.
In the Pac-Man, there's this yellow dot
Yes.
in a maze, escaping from monsters.
Yes.
So I feel like I always reframe it in a different way, saying that life is like a reverse Pac-Man game. Like
Hmm.
I am facing monsters, but instead
Yes.
of me escaping from them,
Yeah.
because the more that I escape, the more life gives me different versions of the same monsters. The name can be different, but the relationships might be changing, but the pattern is always the same.
It's,
Once you realize that, if
mm,
you just literally reverse the game and instead of escaping from the monster,
mm,
chase the monster and look at the monster like at the
yes.
face, like, I'm
Yes.
gonna love you regardless of
Same.
what,
Thank
and I'm gonna hug you.
you.
And once we do that, at least when I realize that, one by one, I can dissolve them so that they fully transform and get transformed into something more beautiful.
Exactly.
That changed my life dramatically. But it's a really unfolding game. The more every day I use, similar to you, daily life as an inspiration. Like today, what inspired me and what really bothered me? And similar to the way that you ground it with the values that you would like to have more in life, the other side is, what do you need to eliminate from your life so that you can embody more of those values?
Exactly.
And
You have to
sometimes,
create space.
yes,
Mm.
yes. And there's so much resonance in the way that we also integrate this eternal dance of conscious creation
Mm.
by opening more space from healing the traumatic experiences, by
Mm.
opening more space in terms of letting go of the things that we don't want in our lives anymore. And it's always an eternal dance of more of the values that I would like to embody and less of the things that I would like to transform. But at the center, there's this consciousness that's vibrant, vibrating with life, being in life every
Mm.
day, every
Mm.
moment. And the same consciousness is also able to see and sense the beauty and the bliss that I know you do very well in your personal life too. So there are always blessings that comes with that level of awareness, but there is also so much responsibility that comes, that invites us to transform what's
Mm.
needed to be
Yes.
transformed.
Yes. It's all about
So
transformation anyway. And the transformation, now you talk about Pac-Man, but I use the psychological games to in a way to, when people are aware of the psychological games, they can also see what kind of shadows they don't want
mm,
to integrate in them, because you can play a victim game, or you can play what you call that, the persecution, always criticizing people, judging, or something like that. Or you can say, as a victim, it's not my fault, it's not my responsibility, and so on. I see that as a shadow
yes,
also,
yes,
and in a way something that you run from, like the Pac-Man game you were talking about. The monster is not over there, it's here, so to
so
speak.
true, so true,
So you just project it over on other people. So the victim projects their own lack of taking responsibility in life. They project it on other people. I don't say it easy to redraw your projections, but it's the only way out is in, so
so
to
true,
speak. Yeah.
so true. I think you touched upon a very important point, which is very resonant in today's world. When I look into social media, when I look into communications around me, it's always this pointing the fingers towards the other. And any kind of engagement is a relationship. I think we forget the fact that even if there are different degrees of responsibility, there is
Mhm.
always some responsibility that each of us can feel in any kind of relational context. So I think you are highlighting a very important point. Maybe we cannot really change the other person, but in any kind of interaction, if we hold the mirror and ask the question, like, what did I do to trigger this relationship to unfold this way? There is,
Mhm.
I think, always a lesson for each of us to heal
Exactly.
and learn from.
Exactly.
And sometimes, yes, there are very much I would say, not from only a one personal, but objectively toxic context. But in that
Mm.
context, I think it's also the responsibility of the individual to make a choice to consciously limit their interaction. So again, I think there are different levels of understanding and forgiveness in my own world. Like I can understand and love and forgive
Yeah.
something or someone or contact, which doesn't necessarily mean that I don't create necessary distance in my life for that not to impact me anymore. But this also comes back to a different level of consciousness, awareness, responsibility, and
Totally.
approaching things
Totally.
with the
Mm.
dignity that we each hold and have the opportunity to recreate.
Yes.
So thank you for bringing it up, because I personally feel like in today's world, we are living with so much conflict between the diversities and
Mm.
pointing the
Mm.
fingers to each other. And especially nowadays, communal healing spaces is becoming more and more popular, and I'm not against it. I am indeed welcoming one myself, but I also observe that unless each individual does this healing work themselves and takes responsibility, even in these communal spaces, I feel
Mm.
so much people pointing finger to each other. And
Mm.
the diversity is that we each bring, not bringing richness, but triggering more of the shadows that we each hold. So very
Exactly.
important point.
And then the psychological game is running with you.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, so true.
Uh, as I see it, a lot of things going on now is a result of social conformity, because social conformity is dependent that we as people is dividing us up our in groups, us versus them. Mm?
Yes,
And then we use a lot of energy to point out that it's the other, it is them who has the problem and not I. And that's I don't think that's a way to solve conflicts. You must take responsibility over your part of it, so to speak. And
so
I'm not a saint. I find myself sometimes also thinking us versus them, but it's not to me. It's not the way forward. It's not with the heart. It's with the criticism and judgment when we point our fingers at other people instead of, there once was one that said, when you're pointing this way, there's one finger over there, but there's three pointing at yourself.
so true,
So yes, a
so
lot of
true.
inner work has to be done to look at these conflicts, I think. But I see them as mirror, as you mentioned just before.
Yes, it's just mirrors. And
Mm.
I always say life is like a reflection of mirrors. And
Exactly.
once we have at least some personal practice, this could be literally asking this simple question at the end of the day, like, what triggered me today? Did I have any triggers? Or
Mm.
what brought light to my day today? Like these simple things, so
Yeah.
that we can create more of the things that we like.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, we can heal at the same time. So, in that sense, it's this eternal dance of creation, but also
Exactly.
healing and transformation.
Yeah.
Those two simple things. And I
Yes.
think sometimes when we start the journey, there's this huge mountain to be climbed, and that really frightens us. And I feel most of the personal transformation that is needed is not done because people feel like, okay, like I have so much business in my life that I don't have enough space for this. But it doesn't require much. I think you highlighted a very important point: daily engagement,
Mm.
small steps, and it leads into like bigger, 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 bigger ones over time. And
Mm.
consistency and integrating this into our lives daily in the form of brief contemplations, brief reminders, or
Mm.
any kind of, I think, ritualistic practice that helps us to stay more conscious and aware in the moment. Personally, for me, this is coming through my yoga practice. And like I
Mm.
briefly mentioned last time in the circles, like journaling, it's
Yeah.
really helped me to see what were my patterns, at
Mm.
least retrospectively
Mm.
initially. Like
Mm.
I started
Mm.
journaling almost more than 2 decades ago. And at the time, I was not into this meditation of bringing consciousness to all of my experiences and being blissed and mindful in every interaction. But even retrospectively, seeing my patterns enabled me to like look at myself and it's like, oh my god, like I am repeating the same cycles. And with that awareness, I was able to be more conscious when I'm creating the next one and bring more of my awareness and mindfulness in the moment so that
Mm.
I have a different choice to
Yes,
break that pattern, to
exactly.
change that cycle.
Yeah.
But you highlighted a very important point that most of our conformity, most of the personal problems that we're facing is also an accumulation of our life experiences. And most of that is also coming through our education and the education system that we were born into, especially in the
Mm.
Western world.
Mm.
And I know that you touched upon this slightly in a couple of our previous conversations, but we didn't have enough time to unpack. And I also know that you have children going through school too. So you are more experienced in terms of the historical context, but today's context too. Would you like to elaborate more about, as a philosopher, as someone with real life experiences too, where do you see the role of education, or how might we change how we approach life to be able to integrate more of that innate bliss, innate beauty that we would like to see more in our world?
Mm. A lot of questions in
I
one.
know.
Let me start to say with that I don't see only education is in the school. You learn everywhere you go. So triggers are also projections are actually also learning processes. So when I am triggered, I can actually, when I see the wisdom in this situation where I'm triggered, I always say thank you. I learned something new about myself. I see the self is a kind of diamond with different facets. So there
Yes.
is new facets every time.
Polishing one corner, next
Yeah,
time the next one.
it's where the light is hitting you. So the trigger is a kind of, here you must look at this at yourself. So it continues all life. It's a lifelong
Yes.
learning. Uh, uh, According to education, I have used, I think, 15 years just to do a deep research in the Danish, actually the Western educational system. I was deeply worried that young kids started very creatively and happy and naturally curious, and a lot of natural excitement to start
Yes.
education. And then after a while, their creativity reduced, and they were not so happy, and so on. So I started to observe. I just sat down as to observe children, young people, and adults, and to see what is actually happening. And what I see is happening is that, education actually means to bring out. What
Out.
people
Yes.
have in them resources means to bring out. But instead, we have totally misunderstood that students are passive recipients. They are not. They are active recipients.
Yes.
So when the curious child sitting in on a chair from 8 in Denmark, it's from 8 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 in the morning, and 3 o'clock in the
Yes.
afternoon. And just to sit and listen to a teacher putting something in them, on them, and so on, they start to forget their own creativity.
Yes.
And there is a kind of expectation, at least in Danish system, but I have actually done some research in Ireland also, and it's the same expectation that you just sit down and listen. And if you have different learning styles, some students learn something by doing something with their hands.
Yes.
Some students learn to do something with seeing pictures. Some of them also learned by listening, but not
Mm.
all of them. So
Yeah.
that's why you have to realize what kind of child do you have in front of you? What kind of young person do you have in front of you? What kind of, and so on. So you have to variate your way to the way you teach every person. And you have, in my opinion, you have to have really deep respect for the resources that they bring into the table, so to speak. And I don't see that at all. There's no respect at all for kids, young people, and adults with
Yes.
creativity. Actually, in Danish system, you can get some point if you can, uh, uh, if you're good in language, if you're good in mathematics, if you're good at science, and so on. But you don't get any good degrees on being creative. And that's why I'm very critical about the educational system, because if you look at what kind the way that people, for example, let us take Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
He says, um, "I get most of the best idea I get is when I pause and go for a walk."
Yes.
And I don't use my rational mind. I
Yes.
actually use my imagination, he says.
Yes.
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 And it is the imagination that is not respected as I see it in the school. And if you, I have actually read some of Einstein's journals. I have them there. They are printed out. Journaling, and he says he never felt that he was accepted or understood when he went to school. Especially his teacher in physics never understood Albert Einstein,
Yeah.
and that to me is an experience that we have to look at, because maybe it might be so that the children, the young persons, actually are clever than the teacher.
Yes.
Mm. So,
Yes.
so I look at
Wow.
education a completely other way. I kind of see education as an organic way.
Yes. Wow, so much resonance. I am so glad that I asked this because, like I said last time, we briefly touched upon the importance of education, but we didn't have any time to unpack. Um, it deeply resonated with the way that I see how broken our education system is and how essential education is in
It
terms
is
of bringing that
dysfunctional, actually.
innate beauty
Mm,
and bliss.
mm,
And I would like to maybe reflect a couple of things from my side and share a couple more personal experiences
mm.
that will resonate deeply with you too. Apparently, the Danish system is not alone. Turkish system is very much similar. Indeed, I can even say in United States, I experienced the same thing. Um, when I started my own journey as a student, and just yesterday with a high school friend of mine, we were talking about exactly about this topic. The only thing that I knew as a child was really dissonance, like dis-ease. Like I was feeling like
Difficult.
something is not right.
Mm, mm.
And I was a very intelligent, very innately curious child.
Yes, you are.
Like, like coming back to Einstein, he says like, I'm not special. I am only passionately curious. Like I have always been passionately curious,
Mm.
but that didn't lead into this feeling a sense of connection when I was in the school, like similar to your description, like long hours, 8 hours of just sitting in a
Mm,
desk. And we
mm.
were like literally packed 2 or 3 people together, no movement, nothing. You're just a kid, very early stage in life. Like I always like playing. I personally right now,
Exactly.
the way that I learn or integrate information is really by walking, by moving my body.
Mm.
And at the time you're not allowed to do any of those
Yep.
things, and I was just like biting my nails or like fidgeting with my
Yeah,
feet,
yeah.
keeping a tempo, like because you are literally put into a prison in a
Yes.
different shape or form, and everyone
Yes.
is really restricted by the same boundaries, given the same kind of structure, has to comply to the same competition standards.
Exactly.
So, like, when I looked into how broken things are with today's level of consciousness, it is totally left hemisphere dominance, like
Yes.
competition, like pushing hard numbers and
Mm. Mm.
analytical thinking, always progression without any respect for feeling, without any respect for diversity, without any respect for imagination, for art, any kind of
Exactly.
human connection,
Mm.
connection to the body. Not so sure whether this was happening. I hope it was not. But even in some of our artistic classes, like physical movement related and also painting classes, we
Mm.
were doing mathematic tests to be able to get into exams so that we can pass, which was the only level.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
were disregarded at that level that no one had any kind of understanding of how important it is to let the child holistically get the
Exactly.
experience of what it means to feel in a body, what it means to express their emotions through a painting. I just felt like I was trained like a machine to operate within a system. But at the time, I didn't have the level of awareness too. The only feeling that I have was really like, this doesn't feel right. And I felt this dis-ease, which really triggered me to find other ways of writing or expressing whatever's supposed to come through me. But years later, now that I can holistically see how broken our system is,
Yes.
it makes sense retrospectively. And I think the state of our world, us recycling the same level of problems,
Yes.
clearly shows us that something is not working and we need to bring that human imagination, the real creative essence of our humanity back
Yes.
to
Yeah.
our experiences.
I
And
agree.
maybe
Yes.
not everyone would understand this, but I know that you are very much also still in research, and a part of you is in the science world, a part of you is in the spiritual realm, especially nowadays with this artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
machines doing
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
intellectual rational work that we
Yeah.
were asked to do. This opens up the question about what it means to be a human. And personally, I always see this as a maybe sweet invitation for us to remember that we are not only machines doing the analytical work, which can be right now done better by the machines, by artificial intelligence. But if we are really thinking about bringing more bliss, joy, beauty to the life in a way that was not there before, that to me, and that dimension is a little bit spiritual in its essence too, can
Mm.
only emerge through a human being connected to that universal essence through our bodies, through our feelings, through our emotions, through our thoughts. And I think that is what differentiates us. And I see this revolution of technological revolution in some way like a threat or a sweet push for us to remember our humanity, for us to integrate more of that innate creativity, innate joyfulness, playfulness that we are born into life with.
Yes. I agree. Totally.
Yeah.
I agree. But it's sad now when you explain how yourself you felt. Imagine all the children and young people that have thought that it was them that was wrong. Because you said you imagine that this feels wrong.
Yeah.
And at least in the Danish system, there is a tendency to say that the child or the young person has the problem. No, it's when the children react with yes, when they react, it's a reflection of the environment, so to speak. So if they lose interest in the subject that the teacher is discussing, it has something to do that it's um, it's actually the child is actually mirroring the disrespect
Yes.
that the teacher
That
showed.
it's getting from the system, right? Yes. Yes. Very interestingly, one more reflection from my side. At the same Gene Keys event, where you send out a message,
Mm.
one particular question that was asked as a part of the contemplation was really, what should we teach to our future children to be able to enable this vision or something like that? But it was one of the questions on the screen. And my neighbor, who also had the opportunity to raise her hand and voice this
Yeah.
to the group, she said, I think there's a slight mistake in the way that we phrase the question. It shouldn't be what should we teach to the future children. It should be what can we learn from the
Exactly.
future children. And this very much created, and she was a mother too, and this very much deeply resonated with the community. It's a total different way of, again, I think in the old system, we were like cogs in the machine getting, there was also power imbalance. Like we were like listening and getting downloads as if everyone knows better than us. There's no respect to
Mm,
human
mm,
individuality
mm,
or human innate consciousness in that sense. But I think nowadays, through these kind of conversations, and I cannot recall the exact very famous psychologist in United States. I'm happy to edit to the links later, but he was the pioneer for bringing a lot more human centeredness into the education or psychology space too. And the underlying essence was exactly what you highlighted. Every individual is innately unique,
yes.
innately
Yeah.
genius in the way that they are born. We only poison that. So, what is needed for that to naturally emerge, which is the essence of education, because everyone is talented. As educator, what we need to do is to create the safe space for that natural emergence to come into life naturally. And he was highlighting, I think, a couple of things as a teacher. First, you need to be the embodiment of the authenticity that you would like to invite more. So, authenticity was an important one from the teacher side. How can you bring your authentic bliss, authentic voice out to the world so that
Exactly.
the children feel
Yeah.
that it's safe to be
Yeah.
myself? She is doing that, so I can
Yes.
do it myself too.
Yeah.
The other one was empathy. How can you, coming back to this diversity and differences, like how can we put ourselves into each other's shoes and know that we are all different and it's okay, and
Mm,
that's actually beautiful.
mm,
And the third part was really care, holding the space
mm,
for the highest potential to
mm,
emerge,
mm,
having an unconditional love, knowing that
mm,
everyone is beautiful. It only takes time
mm,
for that innate beauty to come
mm,
into existence.
mm.
And he was highlighting, if we can recurringly bring these three things into any kind of educational context: authenticity, empathy, and care, trust naturally emerges. And that creates a safe space for the natural talent in the child
Yes.
to emerge. So we
Yes.
don't need to educate anyone in that sense. It's just a natural emergence
Yes.
when the context is right.
Yes. But educate, as I mentioned before, means to bring forth.
Exactly. That's what I mean. This is a true definition, I think,
Yes.
isn't it?
So in a way, it's already there. It is already there, and then you just have to, uh, like a seed, seed in the garden. You just have to water it and take a step back as a teacher and be aware of when your support is needed. Otherwise, you just have to let the flower bloom, so to speak.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Thank you.
I will mention that I don't think it was mm, the psychologist you named before. I was thinking of Sir Ken Robinson. Do you know him?
Yes,
Yes.
please bring it him in.
He was actually speaking about that the school system destroy creativity.
Yeah.
He said it straight out.
Yes.
This Western school system is dysfunctional, and it destroys every creativity that the students have, and it goes on. So I can really recommend to read something that he has.
Yes. One of my friends who is also in the educational space, she was the first one recommending him too. So I'm
Yeah,
familiar with some of his work in terms of highlighting the importance of creativity too. Thank you
yeah.
for bringing it into our conversation.
But
Well,
the educational system, as everything in nature, also is already showing that it is in deep crisis.
it is.
The
Yeah, it is showing.
students are in crisis. The system
Yes.
is in crisis. Uh, in Denmark, a lot of teachers is going down with stress. And so everything in this system shows, like everything in nature, that it doesn't work. So if we look to the future, I think it will dissolve. Is that the right?
Yes,
word
it
is
will
called.
definitely transform into something
It will
else.
transform, and there
Yes.
will be. I'm optimistic because first we have the. It has to
Yes.
make space and room for something new, and it
Yes.
will come. It will come.
Yes, and I think some of these systematic problems that we discussed in education is
Mhm.
very much resonant in the way that we currently do business in the Western world too. So now that we have some limited time already flies, I would like to bring our conversation back to where we started,
Yeah.
because we started with our common interest, or at least intention, to explore doing business differently.
Mm.
I'm sure there's so much to say on that regard, but I would like to ground us with your personal experience, and maybe we can unfold from there. Would you be comfortable sharing what
Yes.
felt a
Yes.
little bit more dissonant, and maybe we can just carry
Yeah.
it forward in terms of what we would like to see more?
Yeah. As in everything in life, I actually are very much aware of dissonance. So also in my own business, I teamed up with some professional, experienced person, and I just followed them around to, oh, let's do this and let's do that, and then I could just I had a feeling that this is so much in dissonance. I can't see my own energy in this anymore, so I have to do something. And then I just I said goodbye to two of the team members. They were uh, what you call experienced and very professional. And in other contexts, I think if it wasn't me, the people would agree that they are very professional. But there was too much dissonance. And then I understood after some reflection that there was no heart in it. It has there's somehow it was only about earning money, earning money, earning money, and that's not what I see it. I see it as already when we incarnated on this earth, we I made a choice. You made a choice.
Yes.
We made a choice to lift each other up,
Yes.
and of course we have to make a living, but it's not with the I don't think that people is getting wiser uh, in educational system, but not also in business by pushing.
Yes.
It's not my way. I think it would be better to have the trust in resonance, then
Yes.
people will come to me, and they do. They
Yes.
do. I don't do a lot, but they come to me.
Yes.
So and otherwise I reach out.
Yes. That's
so,
beautiful.
so
Wow.
it's a balance, another balance, that this push mentality, I don't like it at all.
Wow.
So I changed my business strategy, so to speak. Yes.
That's beautiful. Thank you for opening with a real life example. And it deeply resonates with my personal experiences in terms of the tension I was feeling as an executive in the corporate world in the traditional sense. And this is actually one of the reasons that I wanted to maybe quit the game to be able to change the rules of the game and do
Exactly.
it in my own solopreneur version. So at least I could be the embodiment for some of the changes that I would like to see more in the world. And I will share more about my own journey, maybe a couple of examples too. But coming back to our previous conversation about education, I
Hmm.
think as an extension of the same kind of poisoning of being always affiliated with numbers,
Yes.
attachment to outcomes, what, more, that kind of thinking doesn't open any space for um, enjoyment of the process, trust in the
Exactly.
process, natural
Mm, mm,
emergence of
mm,
things in the process.
mm,
It's again
mm.
like everything is artificial
Mm.
and you're just chasing some timelines, deadlines, numbers, what's
Exactly.
always without any
Yes.
regard to intention, how we are going to do things, trusting the natural emergence of the process, which is
Yeah.
alive. And I see this dissonance is also somehow very much related to the way that we are educated, or we
Yes,
are
it is.
exercising our different faculties of different parts of our humanity. Like we are so much in the mind space,
Yes.
which has its beauty if it
Mm,
serves the heart space and intentions. But I feel so much disconnection between that unified thinking, that the right hemisphere faculties of our mind, creativity, unity
mm, mm,
consciousness,
mm, mm.
honoring the process, enjoying the
Yes.
journey, and
Yes.
knowing that the intention that we put into things and how we are going to do things is also what's shaping the future. And when I realized this, and I said, oh my God, it's not only about what, it's also about how I am creating. Why am
Mm.
I creating in the first
Yes.
place?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that creates the essence of what will be created in the end.
Yeah.
Even that realization was a huge aha moment personally for me. And I have a very personal way of reflecting this. My name Doruk in
Mm,
Turkish culture means top of the mountain.
mm,
And I think before, again, because of the poisoning of the Western world, education, and all other things, like I was defining the meaning of my name as like climbing to the highest mountain, like achievement, like graduate with high degrees, honors, like go to the best schools, like companies, jobs, titles, and everything. And it was always like something to be achieved at the end of the journey and affiliated with an outcome. And when I had this shift in my perception about reality or the consciousness
mm,
or the way that things really unfold in life, it totally changed its meaning
mm.
personally for me. It's about right now more of the essence of the journey. Like, how
Yes.
can I bring more of myself? If Doruk means top of an experience, top of a mountain, how can I bring all of myself
Mm,
into being in this moment, in this particular part of the journey, and smell the roses along the journey while I'm climbing to the top of the mountain too. And I feel like what is missing in the business world is this kind of thinking. How can we innately honor the human potential, see the bliss, see the beauty that we all bring as
yes.
humanity to what we create, and see it as an alive process and open enough space,
Mm,
time,
mm,
opportunities for
mm,
that
mm,
space to
mm.
create the value naturally, and maybe forget and release some of these artificial boundaries and definitions of success. And coming back to my personal experiences, and I shared this maybe with you too when we connected. When I start talking about my solopreneur journey, everyone asks me quite questions, very, very traditional ones. For example, who's your target audience? Like, how are you marketing? And I
Exactly.
said, like, I
What is
don't
their
do
pain? What is their pain?
exactly. And I say, like, well, marketing is like as if I created something, like
Mm,
everything is bowed and like ready to be screamed out to the world. And I said, that's not how I do things anymore. It's like co-creation. And I
mm,
just release different versions of me, like in the case of videos, newsletters, courses, workshops, I give different taste for people to experience me. And I
exactly.
trust that the ones who will feel the resonance will connect with me over time. So it's not me climbing to the top of the mountain and like shouting as if I know who is going to be attracted to my voice, which is another arrogance in that sense. But this is not to disregard the value of strategic thinking. Again, this is the business side of me too. I would like to honor that. Like, if you can think about who might be resonating with your voice, like strategically position yourself in those spaces or try to connect to
Yeah,
those
yeah,
audiences. But again, what I think is missing is the fact that we can also attract with our authentic presence and with
exactly.
us doing the work every day, like you and I do.
Mm,
Another very clear example, like I am fundamentally against testimonials. I think we had this
yes.
conversation with you. Like, I will still update it on my website, but I am fundamentally against, because again, like, why do we have testimonials in the first place? To
Yeah.
me, it's again like building trust, right? And if someone is coming to my website for the first time and they don't know anything about me, like, why am I asking them to trust someone else if all of my value proposition is to invite them to connect to their inner wisdom,
Mm,
inner knowing?
yeah,
If
yeah,
that is the case, if the value that I would like to reveal more in others is
yeah.
really them trusting their own voice, what I am doing is really inviting them to 10 different platforms that they can see me, hear me, read my voice, or listen to my conversations if they
Yeah.
feel resonance. they have the opportunity to connect with me.
Exactly.
It's a different way of aligning with the values that I would like to see more in the world. But if I think about it from a traditional business mindset, it's again a very like a tool in the toolbox, and you're
Exactly.
just taking it. But I
Exactly.
feel like most of us in the business world, we are not even asking, is this really serving the values that I would like to first embody as a business owner? And the second, see more in the world. It all comes back to our initial conversation. Like, what are the
Yes.
values that you would like to embody?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
as an individual, but also as a business owner, too? So I see this as a blessing and a curse. The ones who know me know that I'm also from a well known business education background. And some people say, like, oh, you went to Harvard Business School. I said, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse because I'm also doing a lot of unlearning too. But I think that's the beauty. I think the invitation that I would like to extend to myself, to you, maybe to the ones who are rethinking about doing business differently, is really what are some of the legacy things that we can integrate from the way that we do business today, while also honoring and acknowledging that they might have some value, but also not neglecting the additional value that we can gain by trusting the process, by inviting more of our innovation capacity, by letting things to unfold in their own manners, by honoring our own values and using our mind not just to pick something from an existing toolkit, but truly innovatively, imaginatively think about what are the new business models that we can integrate.
Yes.
Someone really inspired me. Again, this is from, I think, Service Space, which is
Mhm.
an amazing community newsletter. There was a surgeon, and for the ones who were not able to afford his surgery, he was allowing people to do in person donation of their time to some social charities so
Mhm.
that they can do good for the society, but also pay in a different context. And they were also owning their healing process. They say that I'm going to have a knee surgery, I don't have money. I go and donate my time for a charity, like for a month or so.
Mhm.
So I'm invested as a patient. The community gets investment from me. And this is
Mhm.
a different way of value exchange. Like, why don't we think about coming up with these type of like innovative models instead of really picking something from the shelf and also complaining that the model is not working? So
Mm.
I would like to use this as an invitation for all of us to finally exercise those creative muscles and maybe
Yes.
think differently.
Yes. Because it really has something to do with think differently, think in energy actually.
True.
So I like the example with the doing social charity. If you don't have other uh, resources, so to speak, it's the same. Whether it's money or you're doing work, it's still your energy in it. Yeah.
True.
But I think there is. It's no coincidence that that you and I have worked professional with something that we take. We are a bit critical of because we have to be a bridge, between
Yes.
the old language, the old paradigm, and then
Yes.
the new paradigm. So to
Yes.
speak, it has something to do with because there must be if we speak a completely new language, there will be dissonance for a majority actually.
I agree.
So we have to, so to speak, connect two worlds, two dimensions.
Together.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You highlight the very, very important point. I see two different camps in the polarization of our worlds. One is purely we are creating the new kind of camp and even maybe even younger generations.
Mhm.
And the other one is really we are going to protect the old, whatever that means. And I personally feel like I am personally positioned somewhere in the middle because I'm coming from still a fairly traditional mindset that is yet to be transformed. So I know the
Mm.
rules of the game in that sense. But
Mm.
something in me is also very much connected to with the future vision, with some of the things that we discussed needs to change. So the
Mm.
question is really how can we honor the good part of the tradition,
Mm.
knowing that a new thing needs to
Mm.
emerge. And
Mm.
I think this is really a sweet balance game.
Yeah.
What might be needed from people like us, whether we do it through our solopreneur business or not. And I also know that not everyone has the flexibility or freedom or courage to open the space that you and I might be opening. Most of my friends who feel the same resonance, dissonance, they are still operating in the traditional world because of X, Y, and Z reasons. But
Yes.
what everyone can do is really at least keep this contemplation open. Like, how can I open space in the existing system through efficiencies, which is the only thing that the current system focuses on, to open more space for new innovation, new
Mm.
thinking, new experimentation to
Exactly.
happen.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing that at least I am certain, we don't know what works yet. So what we need is really lots of experimentation space, whether we do it in the context of a traditional company, within the context of corporate world, or in our own ways. What we need is really lots of openness
Mm.
for experimentation and hopefully communities and conversations like these ones.
Yeah.
So we can share stories, we can inspire each other and learn from each other too. Do you have any other suggestions or maybe contemplations on your side in terms of what might be needed during this balancing game or transition we are going through?
Mm. As I see that there just needs to be more awareness about dissonance and resonance, because then you have uh, your inner truth will follow, so to speak. Um, yes. No, I don't think you have mentioned it all.
Thank
I
you.
think, um, and yes, I think you have mentioned it all actually.
Okay. Well, ended up at a very maybe blessed generic strategic context, but we started very personal. And I would like to approach our closure in a personal manner too. We
Yes.
are almost filling our first hour together. So we can say this is a conversation starter. We will continue.
Mhm.
But one thing that deeply resonated with me when we had the first conversation and this one is how you have that inner compass that shows what is resonant and what is not for you.
Mm.
And personally, I know that this requires some sort of personal practice for you to keep that level of clarity in you.
Yeah.
So you have the right level of compass that shows this is resonant, this creates some sort of dissonance. On the personal side, would you be comfortable sharing some of your personal practices that helps you to keep that connection to your heart that reveals what is right and what feels resonant with you?
Yeah. Um, I very much listen to my intuition, very much my guts, so to speak, and my.
Do you have any tips and tricks to hear it more on a
Um,
practical sense?
I think that actually it also has something to do with meditation, but you don't have to meditate in a special way. You can just listen inward, so to speak, and then when you listen to your heart. It's like in the Little Prince, everything is important, can't be seen by the eyes, but be seen with the heart. So I very much live that. I I feel into my heart and I feel into my intuition, and then I can I can feel it in my whole body. Actually, if something is wrong, if or it will be tensed, and if it is right, it will open up. And as when you ask where the what do I do every day, I do yoga the first thing in the morning. Actually, I do a small prayer before I start yoga, and then I do yoga and some energy exercises, and then I just sit down. Sometimes I also journal in the morning, but actually I journal every day. It could because I have to get it out.
Get it out.
Yes, So I pause and write things down, and I got some. I do some walk in the nature, of course. I speak with
Yes.
the trees, and people look at me like, "Is she mad?" I'm actually listening to this oak tree. What do you tell me? Really, I can smell. I can
Yeah.
smell. So to me, communication is a lot more. That's a whole nother subject. So yes, but in day to day, I take small steps. I don't think that it is. You don't you don't transform just
Yes.
like that. You do it
Yes.
small steps, and then it suddenly a day someday feels like it was like this, but it was small steps. I compare very much to nature. Observe what is happening to nature. So that's how, and I have always done that. But since I was a little kid, I always listened to myself. What
That's
what do
beautiful.
I think of this? And this it has given me some conflict sometimes, but that's just how life is.
Is.
So if you ask me what do I do to and I'm not perfect, but I do yoga, meditation, go in nature, listen to music also. I listen to music a lot. I do art. I draw or something like this. Yes,
Wow.
and I dance. I'm very much in my body also. So I think I just listen to everything I have in myself already. And
That's
then, of
beautiful.
course, I listen to my environment also, and that's where the resonance come in. And yes, and every day I'm very much aware of what is toxic and what is not toxic,
Hmm.
because you have to move the toxic things out of
Out
your
of your life.
life to make space for the real things. So it's about living an authentic life every day.
Yes, I can feel that. And I'm so glad that I asked this question. It just revealed another resonance. Like our daily rituals are exactly the same.
Is
Yani,
it?
exactly. Like start with a blessing and prayer,
Yeah.
get into yoga, writing. Then in
Yes.
the afternoon after work, go out for a walk in nature.
Yes.
And I had this weirdness in me, to be honest. I'm an only child, and at the time when I was growing up, even preschool,
Hmm.
my father, he used to run a travel agency, safari tours up in the mountains with lots of contact with nature. And again, being an only child, I had tremendous opportunities to be connected to nature and animals. And I always felt that I feel more connected to nature and animals compared to humans. To be
Yes.
honest, that has
Yes.
been
Yeah,
my
yeah,
life's
yeah, yeah,
challenge.
yeah. I
And I
agree.
gained so much wisdom out of my conversations with animals
Hmm?
and trees compared
Yes.
to humans.
Okay.
And this always comes back to intuition thing. To me, it's
Yes.
really whenever you have that intention, to me, it's this invitation and openness from your heart space,
Hmm?
then directs your attention. So heart's intention directs mind attention and you get the answers. So in
Exactly.
that sense, once I have the
Yes.
intention to receive some wisdom from the trees who are always wiser, they have more lifespans, they have seen more things in that
Yeah.
sense. When I ask a question and connect to them deeply, I always receive a wisdom and an
Yes.
answer to my question too. So I
Yes.
know how to speak to the trees here
Yeah.
too. Ah, you see, it takes one to see one.
Yeah.
Oh, this was so delightful. I am so happy that you felt that resonance in the video. And I'm so happy that you reached out to me so that I had the opportunity to feel the same resonance. What a blessing. And to me, we are really the embodiment of what it means to live an authentic life and what it means to really trust the process, synchronistically aligning with the right people, synchronistically aligning with the right energies that are resonant with you too.
Yeah.
Well, a huge thank you from my side for you to be the embodiment of the change that you would like to see more in the world. You are truly following your bliss. I
Thank
can see
you.
it. I can feel it. I honor it. So thank you
Likewise.
for the bliss you are bringing into our world. And thank you for this wonderful conversation. Any final words from your
You.
side, Yanni?
What?
Any final words or any reflections from your side?
Ah, no, I just hope that this will give a ripple effect, because I would love to see more people enjoying life, living authentic,
Yes.
follow
Well,
their bliss. Yes.
wonderful. And on that note, I will be adding your website and your social media details in the description box too. So if you find resonance in any of this conversation, please feel free to reach out to us so that we get into deeper conversations with each other and we build the bliss and beauty we would like to see more in the world. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Till
you.
next time, Yanni. Thank you.
Thank you.